Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the stream, and this is going to be a stream on something a little bit less fun than I wanted to do a stream on today. I hadn't quite decided, but I was thinking it's going to be something uplifting, and it's going to focus on the nice side of football and all that kind of stuff that you like to do on this channel, because I like to sort of push the positivity side of things. However, a tweet popped out recently that has kind of disgusted me. I've got to be completely honest with you. And I feel like is a big part of an ongoing conversation that we need to have in the world of football. So I'm going to quickly share my screen and just sort of show off what is occurring. Primarily, it is Rio Ferdinand, former Leeds United player, sat in a barber's screaming out support for that team in Turkey. So did a tweet on it, just sort of saying like that it's not acceptable because it just isn't. But I think it's important to discuss this because there is a much bigger sort of conversation to be had about just generally respect in football. So I'm going to cover what this situation is and how it links to what else has been going on in the world of football, because I think there's some unpleasant patterns that are just going to lead to stuff like this happening a little bit more often. So, I mean, first of all, I would just like to say that one of the fundamental tenets of the game of football for me is the idea of respect. You respect your opponent respects you, you shake hands at the end of the game, no matter what has happened on the pitch before that point, because that's the right thing to do. Because at the end of the day, everyone is there to have a good time, and then at points, things overspill. For example, Istanbul in 2000. Which is why, for me, the specific video that I just showed you is absolutely unacceptable. Him to be celebrating them winning, I believe, winning the title, I'm not 100% sure, I don't keep up with that league, and screaming that club's name is, if it was another player, fine. But you also need to consider Rio Ferdinand's specific background in this area. So Rio Ferdinand played for Leeds in the year 2000, came to the club in November with the murders in Istanbul happening in April of that very same year. This means that he was not only aware of it, but he played with a hell of a lot of players that were there at the time and will have had conversations about it, and he will have been there for the first anniversary of it and the second anniversary and potentially the third. I don't know specific dates to that extent, but he's not someone that's completely averse to the situation. He's not completely avoided all of the news surrounding this. He's someone that should ideally know better. He should know that this is a very, very disrespectful thing to do to one of your former clubs. And to put it in a slightly different manner, like, you might think that, well, him going to Manchester United was also disrespectful to Leeds United because big rivals. There's a fundamental difference there. There is a difference that is effectively, that is an on the pitch rivalry, and it's based in history, and it's based in the culture of the country that we live in, and that is fine. Those are going to happen. It's like when someone goes from Arsenal to Spurs, fans aren't going to enjoy that. When someone goes from Leeds to Manchester United, fans aren't going to enjoy that. But this is different. This is a case of a big crime happened, and it led to the loss of lives of supporters of a team that you played for, and you're still doing videos like this. And for me, it shows such a fundamental sort of immaturity and inability to see what is important here. Because what is important here isn't Rio Ferdinand gets his nice clip and he gets to show off in a barbershop, because let's be clear, no one particularly gives a shit about Rio Ferdinand at this point. Instead, what matters here is the fact that rather than just see a team win, and even if on the lowdown you like a couple of the players that play there, which he might do, he's in the world of football, he talks to players all the time, you don't have to parade it for everyone to see, because that isn't a great thing to do. Because if you're still being followed by supporters of the team that you played for, being Leeds United, all you're doing is resurfacing old memories. You want to become the topic of a conversation. Well done, Rio. You've managed that. But I'm very, very deliberately going to move the conversation away from him because that's what he wants to happen, towards something different, towards something more sort of cultural throughout football that I think is basically the cause of this. And it is, to a significant degree, the role of social media in the world of football, because it has massively changed absolutely everything. It's changed the way that people are behaving towards other clubs, towards other fans, towards players, towards each other. And it is toxic as hell. Side note, hi Wen. This isn't going to be the most chatty with the chat stream, but it's okay. I will still be like doing interacty things, but a thing has annoyed me, and I kind of got to get through that. So specifically, social media has meant that those discussions between fans of different clubs and influencers and pundits and commentators and everything have become more and more toxic. And there's a couple of motivations for that. And the first one, I'll admit, at points, I'm very slightly guilty of, because in the world of social media, money is a bit of a motive. Because the more your stuff gets seen, the more advertisers put their content on your stuff, the more your reach expands, which means the more you get seen, which means the more the advertisers happen, which means eventually you earn money from a thing. And there have been times where, like, I'll admit, there have been specific, like, videos that I've been like, I don't know if I necessarily think that the rumor here is 100% bang on. And I will clarify that in the video to be completely like transparent with you. But I will put out stuff that I think more people will want to see, rather than the stuff that I want to make. Because you might notice that recently, over like the last 6 months, year or so, the amount of high effort edited stuff that I've been putting out has just dropped, because the quizzes, no one was watching them, which means that that motivation is gone. So all that happens when you get someone like a Rio Ferdinand screaming the name of a club with fans that have murdered people is you get people to click and you get people to watch. And there's a very, very deliberate reason that instead of replying to the tweet, I decided to quote tweet it, because that means that their tweet doesn't get the views. No one has to click onto their stuff to see it, because I want to try and take that motivation away. But the motivation will permanently be there. People are encouraged to outrage, which just leads to the spiral getting worse and worse, because if someone's been horrible to you, you want to be horrible back. And it's got that sort of similar motivation in the world of social media, if people just feel the need to be perceived. So people have this sort of increasing obsession with, let's have more followers, let's have more subscribers, let's have more members, let's have etc, 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 more friends on Facebook, who knows, because people like feeling seen. If you're in a conversation and you've got something to say but you're sat on sort of like the corner of the circle, circles don't have corners, you know what I mean, you're going to feel bad, because you want to be a part of that conversation and you want to take a role in the chat that's going on, which means that people will increasingly say more and more wild and stupid stuff just to feel like they're being heard. Because even if the reply that you give to someone is, you're being a bit of a dick, at least someone has seen you be a bit of a dick. There are so many people on social media that will just post wild stuff, not because they can like monetize their opinions, because these are barely opinions, but because they feel like people are seeing them. And they feel like they're having some influence over other people and what other people are seeing. And that, to me, feels a little bit pathetic. But and it similarly happens with the other example that I had was tragedy, tragedy chanting. Thanks, voice. That was great. Which is becoming more and more and more of a problem, because people keep doing that thing where they feel the need to be heard, where they feel like, okay, the louder I am, the more people are going to hear me, and the more outrageous things I say, the more people are going to hear me. And that spiral just loops and it loops and it loops, which leads to people getting deeply upset. If there's people chanting about what happened in Istanbul and people bringing like printed sheets of paper that have the Turkish flag or that have knives on them, then obviously the Leeds fan base is going to respond in the same way that that other fan base would respond if something was sung about them. Specifically, a few years back, I think it was Leeds against Manchester United, and it was away at Old Trafford, and I don't know who started it first, but there were songs about the Munich air disaster and Istanbul. And that happened because people felt the need to have an influence over other people. People felt the need to impact the way that other people were enjoying something. Which again is quite sad, but it is without a doubt something that is severely affecting the world of football at the moment. And it escalates and it escalates and it escalates. And it makes the conversation more toxic in every single direction. So once tragedy chanting starts, that one edgy kid who's heard someone else start it goes, "Oh, I want to get involved in that." And then it grows and it grows and it grows. For example, perfect example, the Jimmy Savile chants. There is no doubt that that is the definition of tragedy chanting. That is a case in which you are singing about someone who committed horrible crimes against children. Those children who will now be grown up, and given where he was and operated, have a pretty solid chance of being Leeds United fans, of being in a crowd. Which means that all you're going to do is resurface those bad memories. And you're doing it on purpose because you feel like it'll get a rise from the other side. And it needs to stop because all it is doing is causing harm to others for the sake of causing harm to others. And I know that so many people, as have done so in the comment sections when I've done videos or streams like this before, will reply and say, yeah, but that's the way it is. Stop being so woke, or something along those lines. This isn't anything to do with that. This is about the reason that people watch football in the first place. Because the reason that people watch football in the first place is to have some fun, is to enjoy their Saturday afternoons. It is a hobby. It is the opportunity to get out of the house and throw your emotions behind something that you love. I'm not going to go to watch Leeds versus Stoke, as an example, with the idea in my head that I'm going to make those Stoke fans really angry. No, I go because I love Leeds United. And people that do so with the idea that they are going to tragedy chant and they are going to bring up past incidents and traumas and problems that people have had just to feel like they get a little win, just to feel like they're perceived. I don't understand it because you're not getting actual enjoyment from that. The enjoyment you're getting is from other people's reactions and feeling like someone gives a shit about what you have to say. And that is a genuinely quite sad position to be in. And I think what is ultimately like some of the most heartwarming stuff in not only the world of sports, but just the world in general, is when people unite against a problem rather than deciding, actually, this problem's hurt a person. I can just make it worse for them. Because no one's benefited in that situation. If you ask someone that is on the older side, on the younger side, whatever, what some of the best parts of humanity are, if you ask someone that is potentially elderly or like has lived through big tragedies, they will tell you that like the defining part of, for example, being British during the Second World War was all of the ongoing conversation around the idea of the Blitz Spirit, around the idea of looking after each other and everyone coming together to overcome this big adversity, rather than next door neighbor got bombed. Because you shouldn't be looking for just a way to be edgy, a way to feel heard, a way to feel big because you made someone else feel small. Because the best way to make everyone feel big is to pull everyone else up with you. And sure, about sporting stuff, go for it. Sing Leeds are falling apart again when we're 1-0 down. That's fine. Because it's about the sporting stuff. It's not about sporting tragedies. And I think we're in a really sort of dangerous tipping point at the moment where you will get egotists like Rio Ferdinand again and again and again, putting out inflammatory stuff, trying to make some noise so they feel heard. And all it realistically does is it makes everyone angrier. Because at the same time, you can guarantee that Rio Ferdinand will see Leeds fans' response to this and go, what are they so mad at? Then he's more annoyed and will try to do something else to bait some responses. And it's this horrible, horrible cycle of everyone feeling like they need their voice to be heard above everyone else's. And it doesn't help anybody. And this pulls me back to the original topic of the video. Because on a football pitch, on any given day, on like thousands, millions of pitches around the world, you will get shaking hands at the end of the match. If a referee's given decisions against you, just drop a cheers ref. Because at its grassroots, that's what football is. Football isn't the ref's nan passed away last week. Let's make some fucking jokes. It's about everyone doing something that they love in a shared environment to ultimately make everyone there feel better. It does not so consistently need to be clip farming, trying to feel big, trying to make yourself feel a little bit special because you've made someone else feel upset. And that, I think, is the biggest issue that football is facing right now. And I know there's the whole too much money thing. There's the whole foreign owners thing. Sure, cool, great. But for me, that is less of a fundamental issue because it isn't actively turning people away from the game. Because if you go to a football stadium week in and week out and all that you are having sung at you is how a famous sex offender was from the same city as you, it's going to be way, way harder to get involved in the world of football, especially as a woman, because the rates of women that have been affected in that way are bigger than we like to admit. Maybe that's why football struggles to be inclusionary a lot of the time, because it is actively excluding people. And I know a lot of people, again, will say, yeah, it's just the way football is. It doesn't have to be. So whilst this stream is very, very probably a little bit pointless, whilst this stream is sort of an attempt to get an idea of sanity across, that I know for a fact that the people that I'm trying to get to hear this will not hear this. And if they do get this far into the stream, thank you. I hope you've listened and I hope that you take it seriously. But I think there is far, far, far too much of a push to feel special. Because football at the end of the day isn't about you as an individual. And yeah, you go to have fun, but so has everyone else. So has the other 35,000 people in Elland Road. So don't be the twat that ruins it for everyone else. And don't be the Rio Ferdinand that wants a clip to go viral on Twitter because you've annoyed the fans of an old team. And that's all I had down in terms of banners. That is the general gist of what I was going through. I'll have a quick skip through the comments, but I'll be honest, I will not be doing that much of a chat afterwards because I have a feeling that I will get a little bit more heated, and I do not want to do that on stream because I quite like trying to be the voice of reason a hell of a lot of the time. We'll have a quick skip through the comments. Hello, guys. I do appreciate you coming along. Jamie saying that Leeds United were one of the worst for tragedy chanting. Thank goodness those days are gone. Exactly. And a lot of people will look back at those days and think, well, we used to be a proper passionate club back then. That's not what we were. If you are someone that goes to the football in a balaclava, ready to sing about tragedies from another club's past, you're not a football fan. You're a fan of feeling big. And the irony is, when it comes to someone like a Rio Ferdinand or someone that feels the need to make other people feel small in order to feel like they have anything about them, the feeling towards them isn't, "I'm really impressed by you." I'll be honest, in this case, I genuinely pity him because either he's so fundamentally stupid that he has forgotten Leeds and Istanbul, or he's so desperate for attention that this is the only way that he feels he can get it. And it's sad, to be honest with you. That's okay, Michael. I hope you enjoyed the stream. And it's not one of those streams that's super enjoyable, but it's a message that I feel like I needed to get off my chest. Thank you, Mark. They wrongly see tribal chants as a display of team loyalty and us versus them. Yeah. And it's not even we want to improve us a lot of the time. It's how do I phrase that? Again, it's the making yourself feel big because others look small to you. It's a minimization of other people. And it's just one tribe versus another tribe. And again, if you want to go to another football stadium, Oxford, perfect example, and say, ha ha ha, you've only got 3 stands. Go for it. It's the cases of doing Munich songs at Old Trafford that is genuinely a bit disgusting that I'm talking about here. Like, I don't know. It's so needless. Never at any point in my life have I thought, actually, I need to bring up this traumatic experience because you don't have to. And you can be better than that. And if you can't be better than that, then have a look at yourself. I'm going to go through the last couple of comments. It's a big topic and one that's burned long and hot with me is something that needs to change, especially interfan abuse, songs and chants and gestures. Yeah. And you see it when you look at La Liga as well. It's got a massive racism problem. And it's really fun to bring someone that earns £300,000 a week down to my level. And that's upsetting. I've got to be honest. Personally, I don't particularly like Vinicius Jr., but he's one of the bigger victims of it. And even though I don't like the guy, I wouldn't sink to that low like a lot of people do. Thank you, David. I appreciate that. One of the most poignant, powerful moments in my life was a perfectly observed Remembrance Day parade at Elland Road. Football can transcend. It can be a powerful good. It should. It can. It really can. And that's why, like, the big thing that reintroduced me full on to caring about football again was being part of the Square Balls charity walk. And that is another case of football doing something good. And there's food banks at Elland Road. And there's, again, this charity match. I don't know if I mentioned, it crossed £1,000 in ticketing revenue, like the other day, which was huge. And it made me genuinely take a moment and pause. And the fact that so many people don't feel like it's right to do this football as a unifying thing, it hurts. Because, like, you can do better, you should do better, so why don't you? I don't know. But, yeah. That's okay. I'm planning on doing a more fun video for the morning. Might do another stream later if I have anything to stream about. We'll find out. But yeah, that was the gist of the stream. It's a weird phrasing, but I hope you enjoyed / took the right thoughts from this one. Like it if you fancy, subscribe if you're not. Comment your thoughts on this entire thing if you're watching after the stream, because I'm kind of a little bit curious. And yeah. I will see you either with my video tomorrow morning or a stream later this evening. Toodaloo.